Hi there, I'm Ross Binton. This is Grow Your Own Life. Please like and subscribe, that would be amazing. Something like 80% of the people who watch my videos don't subscribe, so if you could subscribe, I would love you forever. So if you want to know how to start an allotment, if you want to know what to do because you've got an allotment or a corner of your garden you want to turn into a veggie patch to get some food rather than flowers, or maybe you're just interested in growing more food from yourself and lowering your carbon footprint, then this video and the next few videos that will follow over the next few weeks should be just for you. So as I've said, I've had an allotment for a while now. I've also had veggie gardens at home. My ethos on gardening, which if you're subscribed to me, you already know, I like to upcycle, I like to recycle, I like to make, do, amend. I like a wild garden. I'm not in it for neat little rows. If you are, then kudos to you, but that's just not for me. But the principles still apply. So anyway, the first thing you got to do with your allotment is you've got to decide where you want things. It's so easy just to get digging. It is so easy just to get down there and start digging, or it's so easy to get down there and lay your beds out and do no dig, and you can go at it like a bull at a china shop in the first week, and you will wear yourself out, and the chances are you'll probably hate every second of it and you won't go back. Yeah, it happens all the time. We see it all the time down the allotments down here. It's a common thing that what people do. They just think that gardening is super easy, and it is pretty easy. It is easy when you get the hang of it, but you don't want to go at it like a bull in the china shop. You really don't. You got to plan it out a bit. It's not a military operation, don't worry. It's not like invading Russia in the winter. You don't need to get your maps out or your logistics or anything. But what you could do with doing is just sitting down and having a quick sketch and having a look where you want things, and having a look over the ground that you've got. Because you might find that some spots are wetter than other spots, and some spots are drier than other spots. Some spots are stony, some spots are sandy, and so on and so forth. Some spots might have shade most of the day because of a tree nearby, and all those kind of things. So just plan all those things out, because the worst thing you can do is rush down there, put your shed up, clear all the ground, start getting things in, and you soon figure out that you put your shed on the best bit of ground you had because it's in sun all day, and the soil's really nice and loamy and sandy and this, that and the other. And then the other end of your allotment, where you're going to plant your vegetables, is rock hard clay and concrete and leftover stuff, and it's in shade most of the day because of a big oak tree in the next door neighbour's garden. So you've got to have a little plan, just a little one. Once you got your plan sorted, and once you've decided to yourself, well, what am I going to do now? Really and truthfully, you've got to think about what you want to grow. Because if you want to go and grow apples and have yourself an orchard, there's probably no point in putting a load of raised beds in, is there? You know, it's just obvious. And by the same token, the other way around, if you want to grow a load of salad crops, there's no point rushing out to a shop, buying a load of apple trees and planting them all over your plot, because you'll soon realise that you've just taken everything over. And obviously everything needs space, and everything you put in somewhere is going to take up space. Eventually when an apple tree or a plum tree or something grows, it's going to have a canopy, and it's probably going to be a metre or so round. So you put that little stake in your ground, oh, I found an apple tree, I'm going to plant it down my allotment. Next thing you know, you've used up a metre circle all the way around. So just a little bit of planning. So decide what you want to grow, because then that will help you lay out your plot a bit. Again, it doesn't have to be rocket science. It's just a case of having a look, doing a little sketch. You don't have to be a good drawer. Just put an X where you want things to go and label it, you know, carrots, potatoes, apple tree, whatever. Once you've decided what you want to grow, the best thing you can possibly do is decide then how you want to grow it. Now, I'm sure most of you there are thinking to yourself, how I want to grow it? Stop being an idiot. I'm going to throw seeds in the ground, they're going to grow, and I'm going to eat them. And that's pretty much what happens. I mean, I am a big believer in throw seeds at dirt gardening. Yeah, I should patent this, I really should. I believe that plants want to grow because they do want to grow. And I think gardening is as simple as throwing seeds at dirt, watering, looking after them, and you'll get some kind of food. But there are different types of gardening. Now, you can contain a garden, in which case you will grow things in containers. Very easy to weed, very easy to move things around. Loads of things grow in containers. I got a video about growing in containers, check it out. Pretty much everything you can possibly think of growing can grow in a container. Just depends how big the container is. Downside of that is you're kind of responsible then for the water and not the clouds and the rain, because containers dry out quicker. So you've got to think to yourself, I've got to water that regularly. Also, you're responsible then for the nutrients in that container. So you've got to make sure you fertilise that container. Whereas, if you plant in the ground, when it rains, it waters. your veggies. The nutrients that come down from the leaves and the worms and everything else, they get into your veggies. But there's a downside. Planted in the ground, you've got to bend down, you've got to weed more. If you're doing digging gardening, there's a lot of digging. If you're doing no digging, then obviously you've got to get your hands on a load of compost. I don't want to scare you all with these terms. There's loads of videos online, but basically you've got container gardens, you've got raised beds, you've got digging and double digging, and then you've got no dig gardening. I use raised beds and I do no dig. So that basically means that I don't dig my soil. I put soil or compost or organic matter into a raised bed, or metal, wood, platform, container, whatever. And then every year, once I've harvested, I rake out the weeds, I add more compost, and I'm good to go for the following year. I make my own compost. I've got chickens. You know, I don't have as much compost as I need. I still have to buy some in, but I do have a lot of compost that I make myself and a lot of organic matter. Some people don't want to do that, which I completely understand. It's how you garden, and that's up to you. In which case, you've got to think about when you lay out your garden, where things are going to go and where you're going to be walking. You don't really want to put your big long row of vegetables in between your gate and your shed, because then you're going to have to walk around it. Might not seem like a bad thing. When you've got a wheelbarrow full of stuff and then you've got to go around corners and you're not quite Michael Schumacher, it can be a pain. So you might want a path directly to your shed and stuff like that. And it's all part of figuring things out. The one good thing about not having raised beds is it's a lot easier to move things around. If you decide after a while that actually I want to move my beds and I want to move a path and this, that and the other, it's quite a simple job of just basically putting a new path in and then obviously digging up the old path and so on and so forth. If you've got raised beds and you want to move things around, you've got to empty them, you've got to move soil. Raised beds are a little more permanent. Now I'm currently moving around all my raised beds to make it more friendly for me for gardening. It's not a big deal. I'm doing one a day basically. They're only little raised beds, and I'm doing one a day when I come down and feed the chickens, and I've already done about 5. So I'm going to clear the area, I'm going to put weed fabric down, I'm going to put new raised beds back on top and fill those raised beds back up with the existing compost I've saved, as well as adding some new compost that I'll buy in. So it's pretty simple really.